Okay, so good morning. Welcome in, everyone. I'm really excited to have this webinar today. We have a presentation about Dante AV and how our AMX SVSI products work together to leverage that technology. It's especially exciting today because we have a couple of guests to help us today. First of all, we have Kathryn Taub. She actually works for Audinate, who is the developer of the Dante technology. She's the product marketing manager for networked video, so uh, one of the foremost experts in Dante AV. So she'll be able to give us a lot of background about the technology. And then we have Kyle Barron. So he's our product manager for networked AV. So he's very well involved in developing all of our SVSI products, all of our audio and video distribution products that leverage Dante AV and other video distribution over IP technologies. So he'll be able to talk about the products that we have that leverage Dante AV and why we think it's so important for our customers and why we're really excited about the technology. So with that, I will hand it over to Kathryn, and she can explain a little bit more about what Dante AV really is.
Absolutely. So everyone should be seeing my screen with a presentation that says Dante AV overview on it. All good there? Cool. So basically, I'm going to talk a little bit about Dante in general and how Dante AV kind of builds upon the Dante platform. So just to get started, before we talk about what Dante's done for AV networks, we're just going to talk about what things were before. So previously, without Dante, you'd have multiple different types of bespoke cables required when building hardware systems. It would all be point-to-point connections with limited cable lengths, especially still for things like USB and HDMI. But if you have analog audio, you might introduce noise into the system if you are using longer cables. It would also be quite complex to cable up systems using analog cables when they only have one signal per cable for audio. And then media signals were always local, so we couldn't easily create things like overflow spaces or send media outside the room. And there's also no way of knowing what things have been changed in our AV system, which makes troubleshooting really complicated. And it could be difficult to add new devices to the system due to a limited number of ports on each device. So with Dante and then networked AV in general, basically we're replacing those point-to-point physical connections and single-purpose cables with just basically the network. So nice, easy to run, easy to use Ethernet cables that can send multitudes of signals, audio, video, synchronization, control, all sent over that slender Ethernet cable. And then all connections now can be managed in software, meaning that we have routes that are easily readable. No one's going to change a route and you not know about it. You can see it right on your computer. They're fast to make changes to, and it's reliable. And the system becomes infinitely expandable. So when all devices share the same network, signals can be sent anywhere between any devices, no matter where they're located, without having to change up our cabling. So this really allows the easy creation of overflow spaces, of spaces that need to be reconfigured really often, like in hotels or convention centers, and centralized signal processing. So instead of having to have that centralized DSP for multi-zone installations, in each zone, we can all keep them in one space, making troubleshooting way easier. And then troubleshooting can even be done remotely a lot of times without needing to step foot inside the room unless there's an issue with like the physical device. So what's in it for customers? Basically, we want to be able to remotely support and manage AV installs. It also enables new scalable business models for system integrators and managed service providers where they can provide that remote support and make it just much easier and much less expensive to provide that. Simple deployment features mean we get a new consistent user experience. Basically, bugs, security issues can all be addressed really quickly, really immediately. And upgrading firmware for your AV system is no longer a daunting process where you're like going online, trying to see if there's an update. It automatically will show you when there are updates. Also trying to deal with a bunch of different ways to update devices, whether that's using USB, whether it's using sound cards, whether it's using network, whatever. Now it's just all over the network and we can get alerts as to when that happens. Cost effective, we can use existing building network cabling versus those sort of bespoke AV cables that certainly cost quite a bit more than network cabling. We can use IT compute equipment where possible. We can create servers on, just general server hardware, which is way less expensive to use due to like properties of scale than, bespoke AV hardware. And then cross-manufacturer interoperability. So we really wanted to give customers the flexibility to pick the right product for the job and future-proof installation. So if someone goes out of business, there's a Dante product to replace it. So next one is, what do we see our role as Audinate, the creators of Dante technology, really enable that industry transformation? We're really in a unique position to focus on R&D and then push updates out to thousands of products from multiple manufacturers, rather than each manufacturer having to go in and like reinvent the wheel when it comes to updates with things like changing network standards or security standards or providing cloud-based features. We provide network technology and engineering resources to manufacturers, so that increases sort of like a more rapid time to market for products rather than having to develop them all on everyone having to develop all on their own. We also develop products and technologies for end users, so routing, configuration, management solutions, as well as some computer software endpoints and some simple hardware endpoints. Train and support integrators and end users. The Dante training program is huge. Hundreds of thousands of folks have been trained on Dante, both integrators and users, consultants, everyone kind of in the industry, and really wanted to be a third-party sort of trusted interoperability for AV equipment, so that if it has Dante on it, those products are going to be interoperable. So the Dante platform consists of a couple different things. Our primary business is selling Dante technology to manufacturers. We want to take advantage of the varying underlying technology that AV manufacturers use to make product. So for some, that's focusing on hardware chips they can really easily install without having to do a ton of configuration to the software in their product. And other manufacturers are really interested in software with like embedded platform or even software design kits for Windows and Mac applications. Basically, we just want to get Dante installed on devices with a limited need for hardware redesigns with those sort of software applications. And then, of course, secondarily, we maintain tools and software for end users. So we have Dante Controller for just that basic routing configuration of your devices. And we have some other things like Dante Domain Manager, Dante Director, which I'll talk more in depth about for management of AV systems, and Dante Connect, which helps get audio to the cloud. And then video and audio software endpoints, and a line of really simple hardware adapters for analog audio, digital audio, and USB and Bluetooth. So Dante is, in fact, the largest AV over IP technology ecosystem in the market. We have over 500 manufacturers designing with Dante, over 4,000 products customers are able to select, so they can really make sure to select what works best for them, whether that's like the best sounding speakers, or if they have a preferred, mixing console because of the interface and other features in that. Basically, being able to worry about the non-connectivity features without having to settle, because there'll always be an interoperable solution. Additionally, there's a huge base, like I said, of certified users, over 250,000. Sorry, brain's not working yet this morning. And there are over 6 million Dante devices installed already out there in the world. So already in a lot of installations, so expanding them is really easy. And then finally, Dante is widely adopted across different verticals. So it's not just a technology developed for a single AV vertical. We definitely started out in live sound due to like it being more scalable, fewer cables, fewer distribution boxes needed, less heavy cables needed. So that made it really easy to set up and tear down. But the power of the network was really realized across different verticals. So whether it's for education with AV reinforcement for auditoriums, and then more recently facilitating two-way communication with hybrid classrooms, or commercial integration in large spaces like airports and convention centers, casinos, where scalability is really important. You're going to have tons of devices that need really long cable runs. There's a manufacturer that's making, Dante product for all of those solutions. So that's kind of the overview into Audinate in general, what Dante does for the AV industry. And then we're kind of come into Dante AV. So we wanted to create a video solution that worked like Dante Audio because people are already familiar with that. They find it easy to use, really take advantage of that simplicity and familiarity customers have. So being able to route, configure, and manage video signals the exact same way they do audio today, as well as create a manufacturer interoperable solution for video devices so customers, once again, can choose the right video product for the job without having to worry too much about interoperability between them. So it basically works just like Dante, like we've covered. We're going to be routing and configuring things in Dante controller, just like Dante audio devices. We're able to manage them with Dante Domain Manager or Dante Director. We also make a software endpoint for video called Dante Studio that works with the Dante AV Ultra and Dante AV-H solution. But sort of where Dante AV begins to differ from the audio solution is we offer different, we'll call them flavors, because basically where we can send uncompressed audio onto 1 gigabit networks without issue, video does not work uncompressed on a 1 gigabit network. To fit, 1080p or even 4K on a gigabit link, we're going to need some compression. So we want to keep things 1 gig for now, just as that's what's currently installed in most places and keeps network infrastructure costs down. And even looking at sort of market reports moving forward, 1 gigabit solutions are kind of the ones that are continuing to grow. But especially for cost-sensitive verticals like education or house of worship, being able to fit, something on a reasonable cost network infrastructure is important. So like HARMAN products and AMX products already do, we looked at some common video codecs used in the industry to meet different needs. So we have AV-A, which is used on the AMX N2600 series, which is really that high quality, visually lossless video solution with ultra low latency, but it comes at the cost of higher bandwidth. So that's really going to be used in places where AV systems, the video quality is really important. On the other side of the spectrum, we have things like the AMX N3300 series, which uses the AV-H H.264, H.265 codec, which is significantly lower bandwidth. We'll take a look on the next slide at that. But it takes a little bit longer to get there, so you're not getting sub-frame latency. It's going to take a couple frames to get around the system. And you might see some visual artifacts, but it's not going to be, it's still really good video quality, but we're really focusing on those lower bandwidth solutions there. And then finally, Audinate makes a solution called Dante AV Ultra, and basically this is our own 100% owned video solution from codec to network that we're building from the ground up. With the AV-H and AV-A solution, basically what we're doing is adding a Dante wrapping on top of the existing video codec and solution. And that allows you to get that Dante functionality like routing in controller and being able to manage it and then break out audio to your Dante audio devices. Dante AV Ultra also has visual lossless video quality and latency really similar to Dante AV-A. The main difference is some of the clocking functionality that allows for a bit tighter lip sync and to sync to Genlock. So more like production focused devices might provide that, or devices that just prefer to build with the underlying hardware that AV Ultra has versus AV-A. So really to sum up here, Dante AV is a suite of design solutions that both for manufacturers have flexible design-in options, and for end users, they span sort of different markets and different use cases, while all being able to be managed and controlled via the Dante platform for that consistent, predictable user experience that customers expect. So basically for this one, we can just take a look at some of the text and specs. Dante AV Ultra hardware solution versus the others embedded software. You can see similar visually lossless resolutions between AV Ultra, similar bandwidth, latency, that sort of thing. Different number of audio channels. Dante Studio support would only be in the AV-H for AMX products. HDCP support, it's automatic on Dante AV-A. I know that the AMX products do have HDCP with the Dante AV-H product as well. Main difference being, like I said, clock and SDI for Dante AV Ultra. So what are sort of these benefits more in depth of the Dante platform than we had before? So all Dante AV solutions are interoperable between manufacturers of products using the same video codec. So for folks that are more on the audio side, that's the same as sample rate, right? We can't just mix and match between that, but they can all live on the system and coexist harmoniously. There's automatic device discovery, customizable device and channel names. And what we're really doing is just making this instantly interoperable with the Dante audio devices. So we're designed to run along Dante audio devices on standard 1 gigabit networking infrastructure. Interoperability between audio and devices means it's really easy for AV pros to install, use, and support. And only one network required for the whole AV system. So we're not having to break that out as much as we might with other solutions. So then getting into a little bit more in depth with Dante Controller. Dante Controller is free software for routing, configuring all of the Dante audio and video devices. So with automatic device discovery, it has customizable device names. We have one-click routing, independent audio, video, and ancillary channel routing. So really flexible with where we're sending video, where we're sending audio, and for some devices, even where we're sending things like IR, USB, and serial control. It just makes it much easier to deploy when we don't have to do a bunch of conversion in our system between different protocols. And it offers a full view of the entire AV system. So we can easily track down what we call subscriptions or routes between devices and send audio and video to as many devices as needed within our system. Controller also offers a single app to configure audio and video device parameters, so a complete AV system can be deployed basically from one window. The AV-A and AV-H configuration we are working on through the end of this year to get that in there as well. This is just kind of a blown up version. So in this, we can see we're sending from our Dante AV encoder to both a Dante AV video channel with the little video icon, as well as we're breaking that out really simply to speakers, or we can break it out to DSPs in our system. And then beyond sort of control and routing, Dante Controller offers things like device view latency, clock stability stats, and bandwidth usage. So really can help people out with sort of troubleshooting their AV system, knowing what's going on. We also have presets, and it includes Dante Updater, which can be used for certain device firmware updates, and it's available for Windows and Mac in 8 different languages, so global usage of this application is possible. For the presets, I just have a little more on that. Easily returning a room to a working state is really great, especially for places like hotels, convention centers, even education, where AV staff might be reconfiguring rooms based on the type of event taking place. They don't need to actually go in and physically reroute it. Just upload a file and it does all the routing for you. I was asked to talk about this as well. So Dante Activator is also included in Dante Controller. Basically what this does is it facilitates purchasing of Dante on Dante ready devices. So this would be things like the N3300 series wall plates that didn't get Dante installed at first, so they're already in the field. So what this does, it enables the OEM product to ship with Dante installed but not active. Meaning manufacturers can go in and offer Dante on more products without incurring additional cost, or like what you all doing, we can offer Dante on products already in the field that didn't previously include Dante. And then Dante gets activated by the end user with online activation and payment tool built right into Dante Controller. Basically, so they get to choose, hey, do I want Dante on this or not? Yeah. So the next one we'll talk about are management solutions. So as AV solutions grow, fewer staff have to support more devices and over longer distances. So the need for sort of AV system management becomes clear. DDM is an on-premises management solution that can be installed on a server or into VM virtual machine infrastructure. It really provides organization of larger systems. Dante Controller, as we saw, great tool, but as systems grow, it can become a little overwhelming. You can filter by name, which is super useful to only see the devices you want. But if you really want to break up systems to prevent accidentally routing to the wrong location or the wrong person getting in and accessing a device, DDM is kind of the way to go. We also have continuous monitoring and alerts. So Dante Controller will only sort of monitor when you have it open, but because this is a server-based product, always running, we're getting that continuing monitoring and instant alerts about issues so we can fix them when convenient versus when it's an emergency. No one likes to be fiddling around with a device in front of like 300 people, right? We have user access control, and on DDM that also includes Active Directory integration, so we can kind of meet end customer security policies about having logins. Audit logs of device and user behavior, making device management and maintaining sort of that system integrity really important. And then also multi-subnet support. So traditionally, Dante was really a LAN-based product where you're only in the local network, but this does allow unicast audio or video to span multiple subnets, as well as monitor across multiple subnets. The latest offering we have in our management solutions is Dante Director. So the main advantage of this for folks is there's no complex server or setup. It's a SaaS-based product, so we manage all of the servers. Basically, devices just need to hit our Dante Director server. We have guidelines for IT folks about how to do that, what port needs to be open, that sort of thing. It's not a huge, we are thinking about security here. I know some folks get a little scared when they hear AV online, but it's really designed to meet the needs of small to medium-sized Dante networks at this point. It's easy to get up and running. There's no complex server management. It's modestly priced. It's easy to start small and just kind of expand that network. We're getting remote control and management, so it's really designed for remote management, like across the internet, as opposed to needing a VPN to check in on it like you would with Director. I can log into my controller from anywhere. I can view the Dante Director on a web browser from anywhere. And it's also really great for AV integrators or managed service providers, is they don't need to leave a physical server on site for this to work, and they can manage multiple sites from the same window. And then both of these include the GraphQL API for Dante. So this really allows you to make changes to Dante devices outside of Dante Controller. End users are not going to want to open up Dante Controller. It's a little fiddly. Great for AV installers, less so for your uneducated conference user or professor in front of a classroom. So it really allows users to change routing settings using external control interfaces, and this includes AMX Control. We already have a module that's been created to integrate the Dante API. So you might think well, my AMX products already work with the AMX Control, right? But this means any Dante product can be routed using AMX Control. So if you're in a conference space with some video cameras that are Dante AV enabled, I can use that AMX Control to swap between them. And then, of course, for system integrators and managed service providers, really being able to import data on customer system health into their own dashboards is important. AVI SPL is already taking advantage of this with their Symphony management product. Okay, so getting into the next, as we take all of that into sort of thoughts, we're going to kind of put it, where would we use Dante AV and what are the benefits of using it in those spaces? So for meeting spaces, really being able to add devices as you need them is important. Sometimes you need extra cameras or you need extra speakers or microphones. So we're not limited to that fixed number of devices. We're not hampered by the limitations of that point-to-point connection strategy. We're able to basically add a device whenever we want just by connecting them to an open network port. We can easily add additional cameras. We can easily send audio to overflow spaces. And Dante provides auto discovery of all new devices and allows them to immediately be patched, so with just a mouse. So really easy to kind of do those reconfiguration. The next one is no distance limitations on your cables. USB and HDMI cables are pretty notoriously limited in usable length. Of course, you can get USB extenders, but they tend to be a pretty common point of failure in AV systems and tend to lose sync with audio and video, which we don't really want. So basically, both are a point-to-point connection that requires a separate dedicated cable for each device, and then many USB hosts can only accept one device at a time. And then finally, as we talked about the management platforms, nearly everything that an IT department deals with is already under control and management system, all of their switches, all of their network infrastructure, all of their computers, right? So why not the AV devices as well? We're only permitting authorized access to the system, which means no weird changes going on, reducing risk and proving accountability there. Dante Domain Manager also gives them a centralized view of the complete network, showing every room, every device, control and user access, and manage which devices can interact with each other, which just really creates a more stable system that we can view all on one screen. For classrooms, one of the main things for classrooms, having been a former AV technician for schools, essentially manage and troubleshoot all of the Dante endpoints would have been amazing. Universities now have hundreds to thousands of AV devices on campus that they're trying to manage across multiple campuses or multiple buildings. And in non-networked AV systems, if a connection fails, no one knows about it. And, then you're like, oh, the professor is yelling at you because class can't start. So definitely being able to fix those problems before they become an issue is huge with the education vertical. So Dante Domain Manager has that real dashboard of real-time alerts. We can see if there's any unauthorized gear, device failures, user errors, latency, or clock sync issues. Immediately visible. So really being able to kind of see that overview, being able to troubleshoot more proactively, knowing what's going wrong as opposed to just the AV system isn't working, which is like the thing that any support technician never wants to hear. API integrations, really important to be able to give that professor the ability to really easily, simply change between devices in a classroom with no additional sort of RS-232 cabling required. And then low latency for audiovisual reinforcement. So if we have speakers and screens in the same room, especially with AV-A on the video side, we can really provide, the professor's not going to move the mouse and then 20 minutes later, the mouse moves. It'll be instantaneously, you'll see it moving. For lecture halls, auditoriums, and arenas, the visually lossless video component is great for larger screens where we don't want to see visual artifacts. When they get blown up, they get very noticeable. Imperceptible latency, once again, presenters, performers in sort of like IMAG applications aren't going to be moving weirdly. It's not going to feel weird. And then for larger spaces, replacing what maybe previously was really expensive SDI cabling would save a ton of costs with IP. And then native interoperability with Dante audio. So really easy to break out, an encoder connected to a computer. We can just send that audio right out to speakers into the mixing console for the event, that sort of thing. So the next section, I'm just going to get into the basic talking points for each AV-A and AV-H. So for AV-H, we're starting with, that really lower bandwidth is perfect for converged and enterprise networking, like conferencing, higher education, even sometimes small production applications. Really offers a more flexible, scalable replacement to those USB and HDMI systems we see in conferencing spaces. Devices can be placed for the best performance and best appearance. Single platform to route, configure, and manage all of your Dante devices and update them, all audio devices and video devices in the same system, being able to not have to switch between multiple applications. Also for the Dante Studio portion, if we want to bring, something into Teams or into Zoom, we don't have any specialized GPU requirements for computers. So really easy to bring in video into computers as well as audio. And then in general, lower price points on encoders and decoders. It kind of depends on what else is there. But cameras can be a bit pricier because the Dante is like the least expensive thing on the camera. If it has features like 4K auto tracking optical zoom, or if encoders or decoders can do multiple channels, that kind of thing, it might not be necessarily less expensive, but we are definitely saving with infrastructure cost with Dante AV-H. So the places we see the most sort of success with Dante AV-H is really replacing conference room, USB, HDMI connections, or classrooms. A lot of classrooms folks are over using HDMI for cameras in there. And we have a ton of Dante AV-H PTZ cameras enabled on the market that'll work with the AMX N3300 series boxes. If computers are involved, it's generally easier to use AV-H, or they just need a low bandwidth solution. So things that go across campus, things that need overflow spaces, AV-H is a great solution for that. When we get into sort of the higher visual solution, AV-A, basically it's designed for commercial AV. It's HDMI based, encoders, decoders, perfect for that point to multi-point video distribution over the network. We have really high quality video, great for large screens, low latency, great for, when we need that low latency or IMAG applications. There's Dante audio that's really easy to break out to just your Dante audio system that's been installed. And then Dante control and management, so a single platform for all of that audio and video. So why would I use Dante AV-A specifically over any sort of proprietary networked video HDMI encoder decoder solution that's out there? There are a ton. So through the magic of Photoshop, I've kind of designed the N2600 series decoder that does Dante audio, but doesn't use AV-A. So basically you'd have to have an extra port and an extra chip that does Dante audio on this device. Where with the actual device on the right here with Dante AV-A, we're able to do over one network cable, power, video, audio, control, so less cables pulled and fewer switch ports taken up for your end customers, which means lower cost for the client. And also those cost savings of not having to add an extra port to the device, add an extra chip to the device, that can be passed on to the customer as well. So where would we use Dante AV-A? Basically anywhere you would have used the N2600 series devices before they supported Dante AV-A, you can now use them and get all the benefits of Dante. So whether that is high quality enterprise video distribution or multi-workstation environments, being able to send, video from a computer up to screens in the room, or the opposite way, being able to send from an instructor computer to everyone's station. Lecture halls and auditoriums as visual reinforcement, as well as in hospitality, places like sportsbooks, casinos, for digital signage in hotels, that sort of thing. That's a really common use for the AV-A products. So as we come to the end here, summary. Basically, Dante is the largest AV over IP product ecosystem, so getting a ton of choice for products, even the ones that HARMAN doesn't make, like cameras or like ceiling microphones. Now you're keyed into that ecosystem. Interoperability between manufacturers, universal configuration, routing management tools, and API that all work the same no matter what the Dante device is. A large educated community of professionals that already know how to use Dante. We don't need to do a ton of training. And then designed for deployment on your typical enterprise networks. These aren't sort of bespoke networked protocols that we're using. They're things that are standard, proven, and work. Scalable solutions, you're not limited to a single LAN to create a solution. We're really able to move beyond that with Dante. And then support for different codecs to meet different quality and application needs. So this is the place where we differ a little bit from Dante audio, but we think it's a good thing. Video's just not a one-size-fits-all solution. So being able to cater to multiple solutions is important to us. For folks looking for additional resources on Dante, we have Dante Certification Online, which is a free online certification course, and electives including Dante AV. The Dante AV elective is a little old, but it can give you kind of an idea of where we were at the beginning of the Dante AV sort of inception. We do these as free online courses you can watch, as you go, or we have webinars and in-person training available. There's multiple languages available for Dante certification: English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. And then basically what you learn is sort of the basics of Dante, vocabulary I might have used during this presentation that maybe if you're new to Dante, you wouldn't be familiar with, and methods on how to use Dante. So I think that's it for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kathryn. Kyle, you want to fill us in a little bit about how that kind of fits in with our offerings? And I know Kathryn talked a little bit about the 2600 series and the 3300 series already, but you can go into a little bit more detail about what what we think is so important about Dante AV from kind of your perspective.
Absolutely. I'm glad that everybody could join the call. So just we'll go over a little bit about the 3300s and the 2600s, really with, why do we have two different platforms, the 2600 and the 3300. So on the 2600, that platform uses the motion wavelet compression, or MWC, as the underlying codec. And then with that, we support the Dante AV-A, standard for that transport. And really, the 2600 is meant for live video, super detailed content. That could be within a classroom, in a meeting space, courtrooms, restaurants, bars, house of worship. Really, any application is where that fits into. Where bandwidth is not a huge concern. The 3300 uses an H.264 or H.265 compression. You can choose which one of those you want. And we leverage the Dante AV-H standard transport for that, simply because the 3300 is meant for networks that bandwidth is an issue. So we could be looking at, some of those applications that we've seen are casinos, hospitality, where they're using it for wayfinding or signage applications. We've also done it in schools where their infrastructure may not be up to par, if you will, right? Where bandwidth is really a concern, is where the 3300 shines. One of the other keys here for the 3300 is the ability to stream H.264 or H.265 at 4K 60 across the network, and that will get you the ability to take that 4K 60 content, and now you can go to content deliveries such as YouTube, Facebook, Panopto, Wowza, and really many more others, where you can deliver that content to a mass volume and still have that high quality reproduction of that content. So in kind of closing here for me is why Dante AV, right? Why Dante AV-A? Why Dante AV-H? And HARMAN Professional really took a look and decided that Dante was going to be the chosen transport method for audio. It's got, as Kathryn said, a huge following of nearly 4,000 products of different manufacturers, making it instantly compatible with third party. It's got a huge following of 250,000 plus installers that are certified, that know how Dante works, knows how to implement it, and configure it. The dozens of compatible Dante AV-H PTZ cameras that can be leveraged in the space. And the big thing for me, one of the big things for me, was Audinate shares my and our common belief of interoperability, meant to excel and grow rather than in a walled garden and hide behind walls and doors. One of the big things for Dante AV-A and AV-H is the ability to support the 96 hertz sample refresh rate, which aligns with the new BSS Omni that was released at Infocom. So those, these are just a few of the reasons why Dante AV-A was chosen and AV-H were chosen for the 2600 and the 3300. And with that, I will turn it back over to Colin. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kyle. Did you want to go over the models real quick?
Oh yeah. So, yes. So, we've got some SKUs and models here for the 2600s, both the wall plates as well as the standalone boxes. And then we also have the model information here for the 3300 for the standalones, the cards, and the boxes as well.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. And Kathryn, thank you so much for being with us today and all the great information you shared. I know we've heard so much feedback from customers, but also a lot of our industry partners. You know, we were just at InfoComm recently. It was great to go around and talk to a lot of the other manufacturers that are kind of adopting this kind of technology. A lot of people are really excited about Dante AV, and we're excited to see how it kind of grows as a technology platform to maybe get to the level where Dante Audio is eventually. There's a lot more to learn about Dante AV. I definitely encourage everyone to go check out the website, getdante.com. That's where Audinate has all the information there. Kathryn mentioned it, but they have some really great video tutorials and online training. And then, of course, they have in-person training. And then, of course, if you want to find out anything more about our SVSI solutions, you can find all of that at amx.com. Again, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Kathryn. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. Have a great day.